Oh, you feeling betrayed? Betrayed. Let's talk about betrayal. Have you ever heard the phrase, betrayal leaves a trail? I didn't think so, because that just came to me while I was surfing today. But in truth, many of us are contending with that navigation of this thing that we call betrayal, where you thought something was going to go one way, you put your trust in someone else, you trusted in a future, an unfoldment, an agreement, something shifted. You let your guard down. You're feeling sensitive, vulnerable, you're opening up, and then all of a sudden, right? This thing came. It presented itself to you, and or something that you thought was for a long time, all of a sudden, you found out that it wasn't. How do you navigate that? This is something that keeps a lot of brothers and sisters from getting together in sincerity, in being able to connect with one another and feeling safe to really open up and to show who they truly are. The funny thing about betrayal, like I said a moment ago, is betrayal leaves a trail. And if you are willing to follow that trail all the way down, most likely it's going to come back to you. Why? Ultimately, my personal belief and experience is that we're all connected. We're all one thing, many different facets of one jewel, so to say, right? With a lot of joules, a lot of energy, BTUs. And a lot of those things may be obstructed by our ability to navigate in the full energy of who we are and to share with another person. So when speaking to betrayal and exploring betrayal, the antidote for our concept, our projection, and also it does happen, right? There are things that happen that you thought were one way, and the huge disillusionment can create a lot of pain for a person. It can lead people, and I've been there myself, to where you fall into a space where you feel like you want to commit suicide, where you're depressed, where you just don't trust any of the people who you've navigated before, and it goes along with you. Children have an experience where they feel betrayed early in their youth, and it manifests in a whole lifetime of experiences that may be unfavorable. So, what's the cure to navigating with betrayal? Like I said, betrayal leaves a trail, and if you follow the trail back, it'll lead back to you. So what I'm speaking to is actually the empowerment of navigating into the worlds of forgiveness. Why? Now, I'm sure you've heard it before, okay? Forgive. When you're holding a grudge, you're only holding it against yourself. But there's a deep truth to that. When you're holding the experience of betrayal and you haven't been able to reconcile it, when you're holding the experience of a grudge, of bitterness, of resentment, of anger that hasn't been, hasn't had the opportunity to resolve itself without the intention. Yes, some things take time, but ultimately most initiations take actual choice from the person, a decision, and the willingness to come with intention on a consistent basis until a thing is resolved. And here's the funny thing. Only you will know when it's truly resolved, right? And so when I say now, access this powerful thing called forgiveness, really the true kernel, the seed is that the forgiveness is of yourself. A lot of times the grudges, you're mad at yourself for not knowing. You're mad at yourself for choosing the parents that you chose, because we chose these parents, right? To come into this world, to navigate the portal and the ship of the relationship in this skinship of kinship that is the body that navigates our consciousness for our learning experience, and what obstructs our ability to actually receive, what causes a cognitive dissonance, which, it's like a swelling of the head. And now it's so swollen that you can't see and you can't hear. This betrayal, this feeling of, and my connection may be a little bit funny with this Young Jungle connection. Aloha, Jacqueline, Anna, and Volak for showing in. This journey of forgiveness is its own gift, but the process is its own journey in and of itself. And so if I jump on here and say, hey guys, you're dealing with betrayal, the trail of betrayal ultimately leads back to you, forgive. Sounds simple enough, but we know that it's not. But it can be. Why? Because the being that you're forgiving is really you. And it's easy to get into all this division and to come out of the actual harmony that is our beginning. We begin in a harmony. It's the harmony of two beings coming together to share, their individual ships, right? Their individual informations. They put it together and they create something. That's the harmony, the unification of our parents, however that unfolded. And then no matter how it seems to have unfolded, that's really the truth of the matter. So getting down to the truth of the matter and recognizing that, yes, the tree is an expression of you. Yes, the people that you're connected to are expressions of you. So when you're holding a grudge, when you're in fear, when you're in anger, when you're in resentment, now it's not that it's just a punishment to that person. I'm not hanging out with them no more. I ain't dealing with them no more. I'm not connecting with them no more. They're no longer getting to take up mental real estate within my mind. These are processes that we have to go through sometimes. So I'm not against the process, but let's get to the end goal. And let's be aware of it. The end goal is to come back to harmony, to unification, to the knowing, the unification which has to happen inside of you first to be reflected in the outside world. And sometimes you can work the other way around, and that's, we're fortunate to be in the duality, but within this dualistic experience, we have that law, the nature of the law of correspondence. So utilizing Ho'oponopono, like Len Hugh Haleakala had, right? Which is a different version of Ho'oponopono, but that was actually to do the work inside, utilizing the law of correspondence. This man was able to heal cases of people in the psych ward on Oahu and didn't even see the patients. If that sounds too woo-woo for you, it's okay. But to recognize that when we have these experiences and then we forget, because remembering takes a little work too, that we are connected and that what we're doing on the inside of ourselves then has an expression on the outside. I have often taken people through processes with psychedelics. We can say you can utilize Bufo as well as Iboga. Now, in a Bufo journey, a person has this pretty fast experience, of, whoa, oh my goodness, mind eye is open, right? Kundalini is opened up. Your perception of the actual reality that you live in has been open. And the same with many plant medicines at different intervals of progression. So now you're in the space and you've opened up. Okay, ceremony happens, you gain some insights, you have this fantastic experience, now you start to come back to yourself and now you've got this knowledge, this change, like, oh shit, there's so much more going on than I thought. The experience happened within you. I'm sharing a medicine that is a catalyst to things that exist within you. And so the experience and truth is going on within the person. I know this, and I even tell them that, hey, you're the medicine, you've allowed me to come into this space and hold space for you to witness yourself. It's a great honor for me to do so. I'm not here to interfere in any way, but here to just guard the safety of your physical vessel while you go through that experience. And then the work begins. The work started in your decision. It continues in actually going through with it. And then afterwards, that's where the real work is. Why? Because you shifted. You created the opportunity for this catalyst to unfold. You added something to your seed, the nature of who you are as a being in this gestation. And you open up now for all these different unfoldments to occur based on the energy that you just put in, because that medicine helps to kick start and catalyze your energy, removes certain things for a time, but those things start to come back because you're in your environment. So now you've had this experience. What I tell a person afterwards to help them with the integration, because really that's the real important thing to me, is how do you make use? How do you get a return on investment of the investment that you made with yourself to have this ethereal experience? Well, I tell them, hey, you got 7 days after this ceremony. Please be in the space of the observer. Things are going to shift. Of course, people may treat you different. It may be shiny. It may seem a little bit shitty. It may seem like things are falling apart, but because everything's connected, we're in a toroid structure, right? There's the toroid, the seen, and the hyperboloid, which is what fits in the unseen. Think of the penis that fills in and the vagina that holds the space, the secret, the mystery, right? But there's a conjugate nature. These things come together, and there you have the totality. So the totality of the experience then isn't just you had this experience, it comes to an end, you're waking up, I'm here with you, woo-hoo. Now, it's what starts to unfold in your perception, in your reality afterwards. And why I say 7 days minimum is just to help a person slow down and to take more responsibility for the fact that they change something on the inside of them. And by virtue of the law of correspondence, you're going to witness the experience unfolding and changing on the outside of you. And really, you don't have to take any psychedelic medicine. You could do this with coffee, or water. Basically, you're doing something to change your inner world. But your inner world is connected to the outer world. So if we're able to now bring this back to the experience of betrayal and forgiveness, betrayal leaves a trail, because oftentimes, again, there is a miscommunication somewhere. And the miscommunication doesn't have to be on purpose, although sometimes it is on purpose. There are some people who will, unfortunately, spot you out peep you out and pull a Vic, try to take advantage of you, advantage of your ignorance or whatever, naivety. And in that process, there's an unfoldment, but guess what? You get to learn from it. And a lot of times where people have been betrayed, they feel mad, they feel taken advantage of, and then, if you can't exact some kind of retribution on the person, and even if you do that, you probably won't feel great about it anyways. You might feel okay, but not the real okay, right? Because the whole situation happened. Now let's get down to, why did it happen? Why did it have to happen? I'm not saying come up with some silly excuses, because we have the tendency to do that. We have the tendency as human beings to make a choice and then back the choice up so that we can feel good about it. Let's just drop all that, right? You have had this thing happen, you feel a certain way inside, and a lot of times it's because you didn't know. You feel vulnerable, right? You didn't know how to protect yourself from that thing happening, and you didn't even know you had to. And then you had no idea what it would feel like and how it would continue to eat at you, how it would continue to taint your ability to relax around certain people, how it would change your whole life one insidious bit at a time, and now you're in a space where you don't want to gather with the men, and you don't know why, but ultimately, deep down, I don't trust these fools. Someone's going to say some stupid shit to me, and I'm going to feel alone, and they're going to gang up on me, and it can be the same with women as well, right? So I use the space of men, but of course I've held much space for our goddesses, our women, and I see the same thing happening at a very young age. And so this journey of not being able to forgive the experience, to forgive the circumstance, to forgive the thing, and to change your perception to actually view that as something that probably had to happen for you to open up your eyes, for you to cultivate and to walk in a certain strength, for you to then attain to the opportunity of and the successful execution of learning how to forgive and how to come into balance with your observation of what's actually happening. Because in the end of the day, and I've seen it, right? I'm not a midwife, but the midwife takes people through these processes. My journey is definitely going to be taking people through the experiences of a life, death, rebirth, and putting it all back together. So I'm dedicated to the long haul. This is the work I'm doing with the men, the women. I'm ever doing this work with myself. And I'm not saying it gets easier, but it's not horrible. And I feel really grateful for the opportunity and the different helpers and the different deeper indigenous knowledge, as well as just the knowledge that exists within us that we get to unlock, that helps us to move through that progression and come to a space of forgiveness for where we felt betrayal. Anastasia, peace, my brother, to come to that space of healing, because when you touch it, when you touch that true forgiveness, when you touch that release of betrayal, you get your child self back. There's an aspect of yourself that it's not a new thing. You get something back, which means in holding that vibration of non-forgiveness, of anger, and that concept of betrayal in your mind, without taking ultimate responsibility, don't let it sound hokey, but really, really just thinking, feeling into, well, what could you have done different in the process? Okay, this thing happened to you. What's the lesson that I get to learn? How else would I have learned that lesson? Now moving forward with this knowledge, I can actually save myself a lot of trouble by being able to identify certain characteristics in a person that aren't aligned with how I want to be at this time in my life, and it's okay. Also, kudos to them. I don't have to hold anything against them because the catalyst has to be the catalyst, right? The plant sometimes needs fertilizer to grow. Now, fertilizer don't always smell good, but it is what it is, okay? The trail that our betrayal leaves us always ends up back to self. I have looked into this. I've navigated some deep, what I would have considered deep betrayals that had me in a space of super suicide, anger, ready for homicide as well, and I've navigated past all of that. And I'm not to say things won't come up in the future, but now I have a toolbox to use them. And once you anchor in that knowing of the benefit of being able to forgive yourself, being able to forgive the other expressions of yourself that show up. A little wasp over here. Get some wasp, but don't sting me. Yeah. Being able to do this is a benefit to you. And so let that be then the best thing. Why not benefit yourself? You get a huge return on investment by learning different ways to forgive. And by forgive, again, I don't mean bypass, right? I don't mean fool yourself. I don't mean fake it. I mean go inside, take the time. You give yourself the time as a sovereign divine being to learn the lesson, to incorporate that, feel it in your body, and then give thanks. Because we know for every area that you've experienced forgiveness, whether it's you were in a relationship with someone, it didn't go right. However, you were holding things, and then later, time passed. You had time to think about it. Maybe you reflected on how you were creating the trouble as well. And then you guys had the opportunity to connect with each other. Same thing with parent-child experience, right? Same thing with an old boss. Maybe you had a bad, leaving of a previous job or profession. And then later you realize, wow, if that boss wasn't such an asshole, and if I wasn't such an asshole as well, because sometimes you had two assholes make the perfect recipe for disaster, right? Then I wouldn't have taken the steps that I took to ultimately become who I am. And then you can also look at all the things that have happened for you. You got to look at the positive things that have happened to you as a result of the thing that you're holding a grudge on, or the betrayal. So how has that betrayal been of benefit to you? How does the trail of betrayal lead back to you? You got to be the one to look into that. But I promise you, I put money on it. I have, in truth, that if you follow that trail back to yourself and you're able to forgive yourself, you open up a whole new chapter. You'll be living in another dimensionality. And even the people, the beings, the circumstances, they'll shift before your eyes, and you'll be surprised. And if you've had this experience, then, comment about it. Share. Let us know in the comments. Tag someone else who's navigating with betrayal. Or maybe they would feel betrayed by you if you tag them. Don't tag them. It's okay. But, share the message. And this is your message coming through me. Why? Because I'm someone who's held grudges. I've navigated with PTSD. I've navigated with, I can have a laundry list of things, but they're all in the past now, except for they happened so that I could benefit, so that I could hold space for certain people, many people, and also certain people. And I really see the benefit of it now, and there's no way that I would take that back. There's no way that I would take it back for what I'm able to see and to witness, and to know within yourself that you have the tools to navigate anything that should pop up. Whether it's dealing with a bad experience with the medical, side of things, dealing with an illness, being close to death, having to escape certain things, being beat up, jumped, navigating all the isms, racisms, religion, just different things that happen in the experience. But in the end, where else are they going to happen? And ultimately, where did they really happen? It didn't just happen in Florida. It didn't happen in Cambodia. Not in Hawaii at Schofield. That all happened first and foremost within me. It means it's all happening within you. Take ownership of that. Take your power, but use the power wisely. And then in doing that, of course, I'm sharing a message, hopefully that it's resonating. Thank you, Lois. Hopefully it's resonating. You take the message, but the other part about the learning that I'm starting to discern, and the message is, I'm here. I'm online, I'm speaking to this, and I have a number of things that I'll speak to in the coming days that are aligned with these core things that will help us to move forward, to remember who we are, but also the humility side of it is maybe the other people won't be in that same spot. How can you be tender and compassionate to your other self for whatever place that they're actually in within themselves, which is also within you? Does it sound complicated? Do you get what I'm saying? I'm mad at someone for not wanting to navigate. I'm starting to become awakened. I've learned all these things. I've had these experiences, right? And then I go to share and to make peace, and then it's not happening. It's okay. Just do the best that you can. And then you can forgive yourself, and by forgiving yourself, you can forgive yourself that is them at that stage in their growth, because we are the seeds, the root, the tree, the fruit, in many different ways, all at one time. And it never also happened, right? Meaning we're in an experience together, and there's various aspects of who we are that are in different stages of growth. If we look at the seed has to shed its husk, right? There's a pressure that a seed feels in the underworld, in the dirt, and then the seed has whatever that pressure is, and whatever is in that situation that it needed to go through helps it to burst forth, because this is pressure mediation, right? This is actually what's going on for all of us, which simplifies the whole experience from a physics standpoint and a metaphysical standpoint. The seed bursts through, all of a sudden it's bursting through, but it's growing its roots, getting settled in that darkness, right? So there's a balance there. Now those roots can hold the stem comes up, the two cotyledon, the leaves open up, maybe three, depending on what kind of seed it is. And then it begins to spread and to grow into the light. Next thing you know, it's formed a strong bark that can hold it steady. The next thing you know, it's providing shade, and all of a sudden, oh, it's flowering. Oh, the bees hollering. Other animals are coming through. Now they've got a home in the tree, and then the seed, it's ready to reproduce, and it's bearing fruit. Fruit falls to the ground. Now, not the whole tree's not bearing fruit all over the place. Maybe there's a branch that's new that's not ready to bear fruit, and it's just sprouting a little bit. This is us. We have a very close connection to the trees, the leaves, and all the other things that we see, because all of this exists within your consciousness. I'm not saying anything new. You guys have heard this before, right? Right? Good. And if you're hearing it again for the first time today, just run it back, listen to it, receive the activation, and then put what you can into play. Most important thing that I'm saying is, betrayal leaves the trail. Follow the trail. If you follow the trail and you don't come back to you, you ain't done. So follow the trail all the way. And when you get back to you, have a laugh about it. I guess there's no way I could have known that. Oh my God. That girl cheated on me. But she only cheated on herself. Isn't that funny? Wait a second. That's weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all you. So you may come to a place where you're grateful for the person's behaviors, and you see that thing that they did that wasn't aligned to maybe your morals, maybe made you hurt so bad, actually opened up the door for a greater experience, for huge, tremendous learning. Maybe that person felt a certain way and they reflected even before you had a chance to. And they shifted their behavior so much that it changed the course of life for the people connected to them. So you're going to use the time right now and allow your energy to be siphoned, sucked, drained, this life force energy, by circulating in your mind, by not taking the opportunity to live, to give yourself the chance to see what it is to be vulnerable and to be in the presence of other people that are aligned, and to work through a belief system, to reframe as rapidly as you can, but also in your own time. So it's really about a consistent effort and an intention and knowing what the heck to do, right? Take that time. I'm telling you right now, thing to do is follow the trail of betrayal back to yourself. And then when you do, send me a text and we'll laugh about it, right? Because in the end, you take the lesson, and that's an amazing thing to take with you. And then you can always, life is really beautiful and bountiful, and it gives you the opportunity, if you can be patient with it. You ain't got to push it. It's going to happen anyways. It will give you the opportunity to not only go through a cycle, but then to begin to spiral up. And in that spiral, you come into, as you get centered, a whole new experience. It may look like the same place. For instance, me, staying in Tulum over the summer. I've traveled, but I'm having a wholly different experience. Why? So I took a lot of time to go inside. And I'm very happy with what I'm finding inside. But also wanting to share from that space. Because as I go within myself, as I come to these forgivenesses, and I'll speak on them, if you've done something and you feel like you need forgiveness, feel free to reach out and tell a person, take the opportunity. I always respect that. And I'm willing to do that too. Hey, I've considered this thing. I see where it wasn't of benefit for you, and really there was a miscommunication. I didn't know myself like I know myself at the time. I'm so sorry. And so you can also help people in the process of forgiveness. But don't have the expectation that they'll go, oh, all right then. Maybe they'll be like, hey, middle fingers to you. Right? They may respond in a certain way, but you'll have done your part. And really that's all we can do. Just do your part. Identify what your part is. If you don't know what your part is, reach out to people. Jacqueline, lessons become a blessing. Absolutely. Never cease to be an increase. And so while the internet is still working, I'm going to get back to my work. And I wanted to take the time and share this with you. I, again, appreciate everyone who's tuned in. I know these are long for Instagram, but so what? You dig? It's good. So reflect on this. Please share in the comments. Tag anyone. I'll put this in my story. And follow the trail of betrayal until it leads back to you. Once you've arrived at that space, give thanks with grace. Savor the taste of what it feels like to be free. It's a freedom that only you can give yourself. And when you give yourself your own freedoms, you also start to remember how truly powerful you are, and really how funny the experience is here. Funny, not so funny. Forgive life. Forgive the people that are in your life. Forgive the circumstances, because the circumstances aren't against you. They're just happening. Truly, right? But for you. If anything, they're for you. And then forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself in the space of other people. Erika, aloha, my sister. Good to see you. Again, I loved your poem the other day, by the way. So what I'm speaking to is betrayal, right? And I think this is appropriate. And look, we can feel betrayed by spiritual community, so-called. And a lot of us are going to feel betrayed as we start to look into a lot of the things that are being taught. While all this information's out, and it's important to continue to dive in and discern, and people will still be teaching lies. And you're not going to feel good about it, only if you find out, what's been going on. But then you can also forgive them, because really, even if they're teaching lies, they're still telling the truth. We just didn't know how to interpret that truth. That's why I say follow the trail of betrayal back to you. It's an empowering thing. And so, yeah, people do what they do. You may feel like someone's lying to you. Even in the lie, they're telling the truth. Can you empower yourself to be able to see and to witness? The things that I'm going to speak to and navigate on this page, some aspect of them may seem woo-woo, but ultimately they're going to be based on the foundation of really what I espouse, which is more common than common sense, right? Foundational things. What are your principles? What principles are going to help you in the long run? So that if something was to happen to me or I transition, you guys have a wealth of information on this page, and it's been very consistent over how long this has been around. And what I want you to do is take the wisdom, and then pass it down. Let this be a legacy that's ours. My legacy is you, right? It is not only what I get to create in community, but what I get to honor in the unity of the community, of the planet, of the constellation, of the universe, of the expression, of the navigation, of the relationship that I have with myself, and how that's expressed and embodied. So it'll be a learning process. But here it is. And my learning process has been, not everything. Nobody shows everything on Instagram. I'm not that cat. My life has ups and downs. But fuck it. I love the ups and downs of my life. Why? Because I look at it like surfing. We have a storm today in Tulum. Tropical storm. You think I wasn't out in the water? I was out there. I had one brother that came out with me. I was so excited. Ramon. Right? And I was like, okay, let's get it. I'm out there. I see Ramon. He said something to me, but I couldn't listen to him because the waves were just a little too much. I get out there. Then I shout back to him, hey, bro. Hey, I look, and he's on the shore. He's walking home. Why? Because he's a wise man. He knows himself. And so do I. So I appreciate at least getting to see him out there. And I appreciate the crazy times that I get alone to look at the waves of the water. And in the water, it's easy to take it personal, right? To be like, what's up with this? I'm over here. The wave's over there. I'm getting my ass kicked. Oh, it's windy. These are horrible conditions. But I just go out every day and I see what the conditions are. And I allow myself to make peace with whatever it is. And then I catch a wave, whether it's 1 foot or overhead like it was today. Beautiful, creamy, and dreamy. Steamy. Beat me. The ocean was great. Do you know about absolutely. I have a lot of fire, believe it or not, in my chart. And so I'm in a beautiful union with the waters. The waters have been, just I soothe and I come into balance so much in that space. And I mean, you can feel it. I'm right. You feel my mana, you feel my energy. I'm fiery and I hold a lot of it back. I'm like a volcano. But where are the volcanoes at? In the ocean. And these oceans, the element of the water, the wind, fire, earth, and the ethers. So special. So connect with your elements. And right, everything is elements. Even the elements kind of point you back to, they are what they are. Sometimes the fire burns a thing down. But ultimately, who gets the opportunity to navigate and who has actually the power to have control over some of the elements? That's us. Based on my astrology. Yeah, based on my astrology, based on my temperament, right? Even without me getting too deep into the astrology. It's just present. And it's been like that. I've always been, my nickname was the Zoid as a kid. I have an earthiness to me because I'm a Virgo. But I have Leo tendencies. I'm just using those names. But really, look, I got mana. If I get a good night's rest in, I'm up ready to take a big ass bite out of the day. And granted, I lost a testicle I said goodbye to a testicle from my cancer, and I thought, my hormone's going to dip, my testosterone, but lo and behold, it has not. But I'm older now, and so I'm able to kind of relax a little bit. Ashley, great to have you on. I'm actually going to go now because I want to get into some other work, but I want to invite you all to run it back or to share. What I'm speaking to is betrayal and how The trail of betrayal ultimately leads back to you. And if you're following that trail and you haven't followed it back to yourself, don't let up yet, because really that's where the empowerment comes. That's where we come into a deeper understanding of the things that have happened, because it comes back to us, just like The Alchemist, right? I don't want to spoil the story for too many people if you haven't read the book, but one of the things that really hit me upside the head as I was touring, driving around Maui, listening to that on audiobook, and I just remember going, what? At the end of the story, he takes this big trip, and ultimately all the treasures were under a tree in his vicinity. And I never forgot the lesson. You know, I can go all over the place looking for things, but ultimately what I need to find is already inside. I can do a lot of projects with so many other people, but ultimately, if I haven't enjoyed doing the project of working on myself, being within my own space, loving myself, then there's work to be done, because I already know the treasure's already here. And then once I access that treasure, guess what? Gain access to everyone else's treasures. And it's not to mistreat them, it's to steward them properly, to come in reverence and appreciation. It's a beautiful thing to have reverence within yourself, and to know that you're looking at something beautiful, and then to get to enter into a different proximity to it, right? And then to bask in it. And I get to do this with everyone, should I choose, based on where I'm at within my mind and my heart. And so, like we said, or like I've said in the past, you know, maybe I'm taking part in a tantric, retreat. I'm not worried. I'm not all into all the sex stuff. There's so much more to it. The whole thing is an engagement in conjugal relating, meaning we have a conjugate nature. We fit together. And so every action is really sex in this life. But every expression of sex doesn't look like some of what people have profaned in the connection between men and women, between beings, between essence. And so drop into that and then have an enjoyment. And once you take hold of certain aspects of that truth, then everything is like really beautiful. And you see how the trees, I'm on my balcony and I've got all these plants that are starting to intermingle with each other. I'm talking to them. They're like, yo, what's up? Good morning. They're like, hey, what's up, cuz? Yeah, they have a Hawaiian accent here, believe it or not. And so these trees are connecting with each other. They're reproducing. All of nature is doing the same thing, but it's a cycle. So don't stop it at that part. Navigate, explore yourself. Explore the beauty of yourself as you witness another person. And then you said you want to talk about The Alchemist. We'll have a chat. I got some voice notes that I have to listen to and respond to also. So forgive me that it's taken me a while. I'll make sure to do that today. Okay? Is there anything anyone else wants to say before I go? And let me know, do you understand what I'm saying about this thing called betrayal and the importance of following the trail of betrayal? Success leaves clues, but really everything leaves clues here. So what are those clues? How important is it to us we can be conscious and unconscious in our consciousness, but we can be conscious and seeking to awaken, and this is what continues to open the door for a different experience. And I say, don't let up. It's a marathon thing for me. I'm never going to let up in this journey, and I'm very aware now, so it seems, of my process, what I'm here to do, and I'll let life show me in some ways how to do it, but in the meantime, for the tools that I have, I'm going to use those tools. Yeah? John, aloha. Are any of you guys navigating with the issue of betrayal? Let's call it to mind. Please utilize the tools that I've shared. Just take some time to yourself, and you can resolve it in yourself. There's a lot of different, tools and modalities that we get exposed to, such as, hypnosis therapies. What is the other one that's seen a lot? Family constellations, right? We have the different medicines that people navigate with, and some of you have even had the experiences with me. We have cacao ceremonies, many different ceremonial and ritual means, but all of these are structured, and not so structured at time, but really there's a structure there. Tools to help a person get to know themselves, right? So if you're navigating with different facilitators, feel in to see if they're aware of that. It ain't about me. It's not about an ez. It is about the service to you and recognizing that an aspect of me is coming to me for help, coming to me to help them to navigate, and that's what I do. I help people get through, really. That's the work. It's always been the work. As I look back, I'm interested in intimacy, into you that I see, right? Into me that I see. How does that unfold? Well, I'm looking into you and I'm recognizing myself there in an aspect of something I've gone through, maybe something I haven't gone through, but something that we both have to get through, and we're now together in the process. And so I'm a mission-oriented fella, and, 100% and then some. Some of you guys know what that means. All right. Aloha. Base. Ashe. Yo! Enjoy this day. How's the weather in Hawaii? Let me know, sister. And in Cali. Shoots. Betrayal of thyself. Erika, my sister. It's it. Ultimately, that's the thing, the biggest thing to contend with, in my opinion. Let it be a humble opinion, right? Betrayal of thyself, which means you can fix that. That's how powerful it is. If ultimately all the betrayals, to some degree, are a betrayal of self, well, damn, who better to fix that than you? You know all the ins and outs, and you can find it out, and you can reflect, and you can really do that alchemy, that shift of perspective through reflection and through action, and then you can plant the flag of your principles with yourself, okay, which is a huge empowerment, and you express that to people. Did that all year, past 2 years. It's been nonstop confrontation in certain ways, but it's been a confrontation in love of myself and in honoring and presenting. This is how I roll, all right? And I understand how you're rolling right now, and I have a respect for it in a dignified way. Cool. But the buck stops here. You understand? And even I come with the energy, but I don't have to say it in that way because some people are fragile, right? So not to create more crazy unfoldments, but I could just say, no, I'm not about that right now. And I'm within my rights to say that because I'm a sovereign. And anyone coming into the space that is as, also, that's a courtesy, by the way. It's a courtesy to be direct, straightforward, compassionate, not too tacky, and to stand your ground. And I'm about that, And also standing my ground doesn't always have to look and feel so forceful, but if need be, it's here, really. And I love empowering people to do the same, and I respect the person who says, nah, as I'm not about that life, so to say, this isn't what I do. I say, okay, what do you do? And then there's conversation, communication. Now we're in the same reality, and guess what? We can honor each other. Why? Because that's me talking to me. Don't ever forget that. Forget it, and let me remind you of it in the next post. It's all good. All right, shoots, aloha. Thank you for tuning in. Not only thank you for tuning in, thank you for participating and sharing. All right. Happy Saturday.